The region's biggest hospitals is under fire over claims that an elderly patient was put in a cupboard before her operation.
80-year-old Doris McKeon was admitted to the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital for surgery on her back. Her daughter says it was an appalling way to treat a patient. The hospital says it wasn't a cupboard, it was a treatment room next to a ward. Malcolm Robertson has the report.
This was Doris McKeon waiting to undergo emergency surgery at the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital in October, in what she described as a broom cupboard in what the hospital call one of their treatment rooms. Surrounded by files and medical supplies, it wasn't perhaps the most dignified surroundings for an 80-year-old about to undergo a back operation. Today, Doris McKeon told me she felt so poorly at the time that it didn't really matter to her where she was cared for, just as long as she received proper treatment. But it was her daughter who's put this matter in the public eye because she felt so appalled at what her mother had to endure. Helena McKeon is a GP and senior figure in the British Medical Association. She's raised concerns about how her mother was dealt with and claims the shortage of beds at the hospital results from the private finance deal, which means the NHS having to pay back in interest charges millions of pounds more than the £230 million it cost to build the hospital in 2001.
The sort of money that could be saved, put back into patient care, into more doctors and nurses, physiotherapists, higher technical treatment, is going out from the NHS into the private sector. It's going into shareholders' pockets. To me, that's criminal.
Local MP Norman Lamb says the problems at the Norfolk and Norwich are acute.
The hospital is under impossible pressure. It's constantly full up throughout the year, and it makes life incredibly difficult for staff there. And I know that there's no complaint about the quality of the care provided, but this is not sustainable.
The hospital said Dr McKeon hadn't raised any concerns with them about her mother's care. They said the issue of PFI wasn't a factor. They have 100 more beds now than a year ago and had seen a sustained increase in emergency admissions. When we have exceptionally high levels of emergency admissions, in common with other hospitals, we do care for patients in escalation areas, which include the clinical treatment rooms on our wards. But as angry as Dr McKeon is, both she and her mother say the level of medical care received at the hospital was excellent. Malcolm Robertson, Anglia News, Norwich.
A new genetically modified potato crop could soon be trialled in our region. The plants have been developed by a team of scientists in Norwich and are designed to be resistant against the costly disease blight.
But some campaigners say GM is still an unknown science and shouldn't be allowed to grow outside as it could spread to neighbouring crops. Emma Baker has more.
They may look like ordinary plants, but scientists hope these could soon be the future of potato farming. They've been created at the Sainsbury laboratory in Norwich by taking blight-resistant genes and inserting them into Desiree potato plants. Now the team's applied for government go-ahead to trial the crop in a field on their Norwich base. They say it could lead to huge advances in tackling blight, a disease that costs the farming world £3.5 billion a year.
This kind of technology is absolutely critical to addressing the food security issues of the next 20 to 40 years. By 2030, we need to be probably producing 50% more food worldwide with less water, less availability of cheap nitrogen for fertiliser.
There are currently 2 other GM trials in the UK, one in Cambridge and the other in Leeds. In the past, GM crops have been highly controversial. In 1999, Lord Melchett was among a group of Greenpeace campaigners who were arrested after the destruction of GM crops in West Norfolk. Today, he condemned the trial.
I think to release GM material out into the environment, rather than keeping it in a laboratory, is wrong. It's dangerous. It poses an economic and ecological risk, economic to other potato growers, and ecological because we don't know how these genes will behave in the wider environment. It's still an unknown.
But supporters say GM crops could help farmers around the world. It's something potato grower Tim Papworth in Felmingham in Norfolk would welcome.
Unless we do the tests and the science, we will never know, and I support them doing the trial work so we know whether it's going to be useful for the future or not.
If this trial gets the go-ahead, all these plants could be out in the field come this May. They'll then be checked on a daily basis to see just how successful they are against blight. But it's likely their real challenge will be convincing the general public that GM really is a safe science. Emma Baker, Anglia News, Norwich.
Right then, it's just gone 15 minutes past 6. You're watching Anglia Tonight.
Still to come on the programme.
DIY blockbuster. The university department at the centre of a scandal over leaked climate change data became the subject of not one, but 2 independent reviews today.
The Climate Research Unit at the University of East Anglia hit the headlines last year after claims scientists had manipulated data published on the internet. Jim Rice explains.
A cold campus, shrouded in snow, but once again at the centre of a white-hot debate. It follows the appearance on the internet last year of more than 1,000 emails from scientists at the University of East Anglia's Climate Research Unit. Climate change sceptics say the emails show scientists have manipulated their data to strengthen their argument that global warming is man-made. A police investigation is now underway into whether the emails were leaked or hacked. In London today, an independent review was launched into the affair, dubbed ClimateGate. The man in charge is Sir Muir Russell, a senior civil servant with a first-class honours degree in natural philosophy. He's also a former Vice-Chancellor of Glasgow University.
The key message is that we are empowered, expected and will be resourced to follow things where we need to.
Back in Norfolk, the UEA today announced an independent assessment not of the email affair but of the scientific data published by the Climate Research Unit.
The stolen emails have raised questions which need answering, and if there has been any wrongdoing or inappropriate practice, the university wants to know about that so we can act on that accordingly.
Professor Andrew Watkinson advises government departments and businesses on climate change. Speaking at the time the scandal broke, he told us the facts of global warming are undeniable.
The climate science is clear. You've got the glaciers melting. We're seeing changes in ecosystems. All of this evidence is pointing in the same direction. The world is getting warmer and our world is changing.
The review is expected to announce its preliminary conclusions by the spring. Jim Rice, Anglia News, Norwich.
Norfolk Police is considering cutting the number of senior officers in a bid to save money. The county's police authority says the force has become top-heavy, will only replace officers from the rank of Chief Inspector upwards in exceptional cases. They make up around 43 of the force's 1,600 officers.
Plans have been announced to start dredging the Thames estuary off the Essex coast. The work will mark the beginning of a large-scale operation to build a deep-sea container port near Thurrock. Once it's finished, the London Gateway is expected to create more than 36,000 new jobs. The dredging operation will enable the port to handle the largest container ships in the world. Now, police from forces across the region linked up today to clamp down on criminal activity on the roads of Suffolk.
The latest stage of Operation Utah used state-of-the-art technology, and our reporter Martin Stew went along to see it in action.
More than 100 officers from 9 agencies, with just one goal: to stop criminals from using Suffolk's roads. Today's crackdown is part of the nationwide Operation Utah, using the latest technology to catch people driving illegally. Police officers PC Phil Hilton and Special Constable Chris Wake agreed to take me on patrol.
Around the smaller areas we'll go and have a little look to see what we can find, and then perhaps the bigger flowing roads we'll park up to let the vehicles come past us, so it's like a dual tactic really.
This car's fitted with 2 automatic number plate recognition cameras. There's one in the front and one at the back, both of which are angled at 45 degrees so they can read the number plates of oncoming traffic. The cameras scan the plates into a database, and this computer highlights any anomalies.
Attention.
The computer identifies an untaxed car.
So just have a very quick look, and then we'll be away, all right?
This time it's a database error, as the car has recently been sold and is fully taxed. Back at the makeshift operations centre, specialist officers carry out more detailed checks.
Brake on!
Cars and vans are tested for roadworthiness, fuel is monitored to make sure it's not illegal red diesel, and even pollution and sound emissions are checked.
We're using modern technology to deny criminals the use of the road. I think it sends out a strong message that we're committed to tackling crime on Suffolk's roads, using our partners and other police agencies.
The day has been branded a success, detaining 100 vehicles and making 1 arrest. Martin Stew, Anglia News, Ipswich.